What's on these, sir? Roll call, I guess. Okay, we're gonna have the minutes of October 25 to approve next week. And we'll have the trustees report to approve next week. There being no old business. In the new business, we have Ryan Duggan, Controller of Treasury. He's gonna speak to us about the tax freeze.
Okay. Oh, you want me to go up there and talk in the mic, or?
If you would, please.
Yeah, I can do. Yep. Sounded hot, didn't it? Hello, y'all. Thank y'all for having me. I'm gonna double check this. There we go. Perfect. Somebody stealing a car outside. Thank y'all. My name is Ryan Duggan. I'm an assistant director with the Division of Property Assessment that's housed in the Comptroller of the Treasurer's Office. So I've been asked to come tonight and talk to you a little bit about tax freeze, a little bit about how it relates to tax relief, which you may have heard of, and what the differences are between those two programs. We like to start every presentation with who we are. If you're not familiar, this is Mr. Jason E. Mumpower. He's the Comptroller of the Treasury. And his mission to us is to make government work better. And that's what we're going to try to do tonight. Try to present a little information and hopefully answer some questions. I encourage you, if you got questions, just stop me and ask it. It goes better for everybody. Probably keeps y'all awake a little bit longer because this stuff can get kind of tedious. Let me start by saying, and I underline this because if you take nothing away, one of the things, major takeaways from this, these are our property tax freeze basics. Property tax freeze is a local option program for counties or municipalities, and it is the taxes that are frozen. It's the tax amount that's frozen. It's not the appraisal. It's not the tax rate. It's not the assessed value. It is the tax amount that's frozen. So if I paid $600 in taxes last year, and I qualify, they're frozen at $600. Your local assessor's normal practices go on. The value of that property goes up and down and fluctuates with the market, but it's my tax amount that's frozen. To qualify for this program, homeowners must be 65 by December 31st of the tax year. They must own the primary residence. They must meet the income requirements, and they have to file an annual application to stay on the program.
What is the income requirements, if you don't mind me asking?
I will get to it later in the presentation, because we're going to compare and contrast that tax relief versus what the median income limit would be here for Dix County. So this local program is administered by the county trustee or the city collecting official, in this case, the county trustee, with assistance by the assessor of property. Cooperation between those two offices is crucial. That's the only way that this program, if you enact it, is going to work. We'll start. I'm going to dig down, and I may go through this a little quickly, but just a little bit of legal basis. Tax freeze is granted under the Constitution, Article 2, Section 28. That was approved by the voters of the state in November of 2006. This is a relatively younger tax program. In contrast, tax relief is about 52, 53 years old. Been in there since 76. State law. It's passed as state law in 2007 with the Property Tax Freeze Act. And then we have administrative rules that are promulgated by the State Board of Equalization. They get a little bit more down into the details about how the program actually runs. So, income limits, there we go, are calculated by the state, by us in the Division of Property Assessments under state law. They vary by county. They are adjusted annually by the Social Security cost of living adjustment, just like tax relief. The minimum income limit equals the tax relief income limit for the low-income elderly applicants. So what we mean by that is the lowest income limit across the state is equal to the tax relief amount limit, which is $37,530 for this tax year. I apologize. I didn't change. I should say Meigs County. It says Sullivan County. That's the last place we gave this. Meigs County's income limit would be $38,710. So it's important to note that what happens there is counties where their median income limit is the state tax relief limit, it's a 1-to-1. So if you're low-income elderly and you qualify for tax relief, you automatically qualify for tax freeze. What you would have here in Meigs County, if enacted, is you have a little bit of a gap. You have everybody that's $37,530 and under that's qualifying for the state tax relief program now. They would automatically be on the, or, if they apply, they're going to meet the income limits. They would automatically be on the tax freeze program. But then you've got this little sliver of folks that make over $37,530, but less than $38,710 that would only qualify for tax freeze. Folks that are on tax relief would qualify for both programs. But you have this little subset between that $37,530 and the $38,710 where they would qualify for tax freeze, but not the tax relief program. Here's our income limits by year. You can see for tax freeze, some of your Middle Tennessee counties, their median income, I think Williamson County is $67,000 is their median income limit. So for their folks in their county, tax freeze, $67,000 and under. If you're over 65 and own your home, you could qualify for the freeze. So this is a new change that happened to the law in 2024. So as you're thinking about this tax freeze option, I just said you've got this kind of a sliver of between $37,500 and $38,700 that would qualify for only tax freeze. You can actually, for the first time, if you implement it, you could set your own local option income limit at, in this case, it would be $63,470. So in 2024, the public chapter was changed, and they gave local jurisdictions the ability to say, well, that $38,710 is not quite enough. We want another option. And so they passed $60,000. You had the choice of the median income or $60,000. That $60,000 grows with COLA just like the median income. So in this case, if you were to enact this and get it going for 2026, the income limit would be $63,470. So if you enact the tax freeze, you have two choices. You can go with the median income limit of $38,700, or you can go with $63,470. If you go with the larger, of course, local option limit, that little sliver we talked about between 37 and 38 now grows from 37 to 63. So you would have more people that would be on tax freeze that won't qualify for tax relief also. This is a list of participating jurisdictions. Currently, out of the 95 counties, I believe we have 27 counties, and I apologize, I didn't bring my glasses. I can't read the city's total, but 35. 35, okay. 27 counties and 35 cities that have opted into the tax freeze program across the state. As we mentioned, fundamental concept is the tax amount that's frozen. The property value, not the assessment, not the tax rate. So I've mentioned tax relief and I've mentioned tax freeze, and here's where I want to kind of talk about the similarities and the differences. And if at a very, very large level, just remember that property tax relief is administered by us, by the state. It's done by the Comptroller's Office. It's done through $41.2 million that's allocated by the General Assembly, and that money it's a rebate program, so it's paid to the applicant or to the local government to cover a portion of the taxes. Tax-frees administered locally by your own folks, your trustee, your assessor, and it is not a rebate program. It's a tax deferment or a tax shifting, essentially. As I mentioned, tax-free is a little bit younger. It came about in '07. Tax relief's been there since 1973. Tax-free does not replace tax relief. Our program, our tax relief program, the General Assembly allocates money and we administer. That's available in every jurisdiction in the state. And whether you implement tax-free or not, it doesn't affect the tax relief program. We still do our thing. Persons may be eligible for both. So as we mentioned, those that make under the 37.5, if you enact a tax freeze at any income limit, they would get the benefit of the programs. Some jurisdictions have adopted what we call the optional tax relief local supplemental program instead of or in addition to tax freeze. And what we mean by that is some jurisdictions, there's a statute we'll get to that provides that the local body can supplement the tax relief payments that currently exist. So, and I don't know the calculation for Meigs County right now, and I don't think it's in here, but just for round numbers, if a tax relief applicant was to get $100 in Meigs County, you could supplement that with local money. So you could say, some counties tie it to our payment, and they just say, we're going to match what the pay is. So if the state's paying the applicant $100, the county's also going to pay $100. Some counties do double match. If the state pays $100, they're going to pay an additional $200 to give them $300. Some do 50% of the match. It's a local option, so we don't keep a lot of track of it because it's a local function. All right. Similarities. Both these programs are constitutional. Both are in statute. Both are in state board rules. Both have application deadlines. Both have documentation of age and income and ownership. Neither one of these affects the assessed value of the property. And both of these programs, the limits are adjusted by the Social Security cost of living adjustment. So here's the interesting one. Here are the differences. So as I said earlier, I'll use tax relief, my left hand for tax relief and my right hand for tax freeze. Tax relief is a state program. Tax freeze is a local program. Tax relief is available in all counties and cities. Tax freeze is a local option that's currently in 27 counties and 35 cities. Tax relief funded by state dollars, unless you have a local supplemental program. Tax freeze is funded by local dollars. Tax relief is administered by us, the state. Tax freeze will be administered by the collecting official and the assessor. Tax relief applications are approved by the state. Here, the applications will be approved by the local collecting official. Tax relief is a tax rebate or a credit, and tax freeze is the tax amount that's frozen. So, in the tax relief program, what I mean by tax rebate or credit is if I'm a recipient of tax relief and my tax bill is $500 and the state is paying me $100 or paying the jurisdiction a $100 credit, the local jurisdiction is still going to get $500, right? In tax freeze, you're going to forego the additional tax dollars for me and everyone else that is a recipient. So if my taxes are frozen at $300 and my taxes should be $500, that $200 your local government is going to absorb. State tax relief is available to low-income elderly, low-income disabled veterans, and surviving spouses. The local tax freeze is available to only low-income elderly. So the question we get a lot of times is, what about veterans? How does the veterans affect the tax freeze program? And the answer is it doesn't. On the tax freeze program, you just have to be 65 and make under whatever limit you would enact, either 38,000 or 63,000. So whether you're a veteran, whether you're not a veteran, whether you're disabled or you're not disabled, if you meet those criteria, you could be on the program. State tax relief, as I mentioned, is revenue neutral at the local level, unless you did a supplemental matching program. Tax freeze, like I mentioned, is foregone local revenue. Tax relief is an annual benefit. So if I apply for tax relief and I'm approved this year, I will get a payment for this year. Tax freeze, the benefit only starts when a tax increase would occur. And so what I mean by that is when the program is first implemented, and you freeze everyone that qualifies, their base taxes, the taxes that are frozen, they won't see a benefit until you increase the tax rate. So if you were to vote it in, and then everyone comes in and applies, and I'm an applicant, and I'm approved, and my taxes are $500, they're frozen at $500. So I don't see a benefit until the local body raises the tax rate, and my taxes would go to $600. At that point, I would get a benefit. But until that happens, I don't get a benefit yet. Yes.
But there would be a possibility if we lose enough money on the freeze, would we have to raise taxes on everybody that's not frozen to make up that amount?
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's what I mean by the revenue neutral tax relief, as I mentioned in that example. The county, the local jurisdiction is still getting the tax amount no matter what. But in this one, you're foregoing that revenue, so if you have enough on it, and you should be getting X amount, but you're only getting this much, you may have to adjust your tax rate to cover the portion of your budget you need taxes to raise. So you would, in effect, raise taxes on everybody else to cover that difference.
How about the reappraisal years?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. We'll get into it a little later, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. What happens during a reappraisal year is the reappraisal, as I mentioned, still goes on like normal. So if my taxes were frozen at $300, my value during the reappraisal is going to go up just like normal. In a reappraisal year, of course, you've got the certified tax rate that happens, and it typically comes down. I get the lesser of the two. And that happens actually every year. So, they changed the statute about in 2013, I think. But every year we compare, your local assessors on the impact jurisdiction, so we calculate the taxes. Every year we compare the frozen tax amount to the calculated tax amount. In that reappraisal year, let's say that my taxes were frozen at $500, but my house didn't appreciate in value quite as much as everybody else's, and maybe the tax rate came down, and maybe now instead of $500 as my frozen amount, my tax bill would be $450. That'll be my new frozen amount going forward. So I get the lower of the two, and if it ever goes lower, that becomes my new set limit. So my frozen amount would go from $500 to $450, and then I would be comparing $450 to every tax year after that. If it ever goes lower, we call it the ratcheting down law. It ratchets down if it ever calculates out lower like that. Conversely to that, and we'll get into that a little later, I'm going to skip ahead. Conversely to that, if I ever make additions to my property, the frozen amount would go up proportionally by that percentage. So if I got my taxes frozen, and I lived in a 1,000 square foot home, and my taxes were frozen at $500, and then I added another 500 square feet on the back of my house, my taxes would go up by that proportional percentage. So in that instance, if you're adding on to your home, or you're making physical changes, I build a new garage, I do whatever, that frozen amount is adjusted upward by that particular change. But it has to be physical, has to be, it's none of the subjectivity that would go into the appraisal value for the normal. It has to be like an addition to the home. Let's see. So there's a property value limit in tax relief. So if you qualify for tax relief, you still only get paid on up to $32,700 of your appraisal in tax relief. We only pay a portion, and that's for low-income elderly. Veterans get up to $175,000 of value Here in tax freeze, the limits are residential property. It's a residential property program. It has limits of up to 5 acres. So I could freeze a home and 5 acres and anything that kind of supports my home. Meaning like, I've got a detached garage, or I've got a big wood deck, or something like that. I can freeze all that value. There are scenarios where we have what we call partial freeze properties. What we mean by that is, I have a home in 10 acres. Well, I can only freeze up to 5. So my home and the 5 acres are frozen, and then I've got a separate line over here for the 5 acres that gets adjusted every time value goes up, tax rate increases, and all that. That does cause some confusion if you were to enact it with those that are on the program. You know, a lot of people think, my taxes are frozen completely. Well, it's got its limits. It's a house and up to 5 acres. If you're on Greenbelt property, it's a house and a home side of it. So typically, home side's about an acre. Things that are not frozen, commercial properties are not frozen. Agricultural type properties, you know, if I had a $100,000 horse barn on my property, that wouldn't be frozen. It's residential property and things that support residential property.
Who determines, is that 5 acres, sounds like it's discretionary, who makes that determination?
What do you mean by discretionary?
Could be 2 acres, maximum is up to 5.
Up to 5, yes.
Okay, who distinguishes, who identifies
Property.
how much is residence,
Properties,
property assessment?
yes. But the 5 is a hard limit, so
That's the max.
that's the max. So 5.5 acres, you're gonna have 5 acres in a house frozen, and you're gonna have a half acre that's,
So it's not an automatic 5 acres.
no, up to 5 acres. Up to 5. And to your question, tax relief does not shift the property tax burden. Tax freeze can shift the property tax burden if you have to up your tax rate. A little bit on tax relief basis, and we've kind of covered a lot of this. It's available to everybody for low-income elderly. The income limit is $37,530. We pay on the first $32,700 value. Disabled veterans, no income limit, and the property value is $175,000. This is kind of a output of tax relief payouts by class for Meigs County for last year. So in tax relief, we paid out about 135 low-income elderly, 24 low-income disabled, 66 disabled veterans, and 10 surviving spouses. So soldiers killed in combat or something like that, it's surviving spouse. This is TCA 675-701J. Talks about the optional local supplemental tax relief program. That's what authorizes you to, you know, match the tax relief amount or give additional monies to the tax relief recipients. So here's kind of a good breakdown of what the local officials' roles are in tax freeze. The county, in this case, the county governing body would have to adopt or terminate the local option tax freeze by resolution or ordinance. So if you, we don't talk about that a lot because no one's ever done it, but jurisdictions could terminate the tax freeze if they voted in. Hasn't happened yet. And also, if you do adopt it, you do have to file a resolution with the Division of Property Assessments within 45 days, letting us know that you've adopted it. The county trustee will accept the applications and determine eligibility, age, ownership, and residency and income. The assessor of property will determine the portion of the property subject to the freeze, total versus partial. Mixed-use properties, including farm and greenbelt. Commercial properties, as I mentioned, you know, your assessor's going to pull it down to strictly the residential portion of this property. And the assessor will determine adjustments to the frozen amount if improvements are made. So like in the example I gave you, if somebody adds on to their home, the assessor is going to go out and pick that up. He's going to have to note that tax freeze property and then make a manual adjustment to that frozen tax amount. This is the tax freeze timeline, and I will say that in the statutes, they built in a little bit of overlap here. So the application deadline for tax year A, and in this case, let's say that, tax year A is 2025. So January 1, you can start applying for tax year A. You can apply. Tax year A will be the frozen amount. And the statute is written so that they have up until 30 days past the collection deadline, which is generally April 5th, roughly. You have until April 5th to apply for that tax year A. Now, what you'll notice is tax year B starts January 1. So between January and April, we've got overlap. The vast majority of jurisdictions, in fact, I don't know any that don't do this, the vast majority of them just make that April 5th cutoff. And so what they do is take applications for the previous year up through April 5th, and then start April 5th, you're into the next tax year, second application. Just a way to simplify it for your collector that would be doing that. So who bears the cost of the tax freeze? Local governments adopting the tax freeze bear the cost of administering the program. So I kind of laid out to you that, adopting the tax freeze, it's administered here locally. So you're taking applications locally, you're making the determinations, your assessor now has to, keep up with these properties a little bit separately, watch out for what's frozen and unfrozen, look out for additions, and this is a yearly process. So it's a yearly application process. So the main thing that we do in this presentation is just try to, illuminate that if you enact tax freeze, it is a locally administered program. We help enforce. We'll talk about what we help with in here in a little bit, but it's who bears the cost of it is local. So you bear the cost for administering the program, and then the foregone tax revenue that you get due to the program. State does not pay the cost of the tax freeze program, but what we do is we have a statewide system that's available for use for local tax freeze administrators. It's brand new. We've had one ever since 2007. We just rolled out a new one. So it's a website that we, the Comptroller's Office, built. We maintain it. We make it available to anybody in the state that has tax freeze. And it's a way for your local collector to get the information, keep up with folks, and then pass that data to the assessor. Your local assessor is on our statewide camera system Impact, so that workflow is pretty built in. So if your collector approves me to be on the program, the next morning, overnight, the assessor will get, hey, here's people that are qualified for tax freeze, and then the assessor has to go in and work them, which means assign what percentage of the property is frozen, make sure the ownership is the same, and then the assessor marks a check, and then after that night, it goes back into the trustee system so they can keep up with it that it's done. That's why I say at the beginning, communication is key between those two offices, so we do help as much here as we can. We try to make that as easy and seamless, there's no cost to you locally for anything like that, but it helps these two offices take on extra work, and we'll try to make it easier for you if you were to come to. And I'm gonna kind of roll through this a little bit. We've talked about it. Frozen tax freeze, how it works, it's principal residence with supporting land and other improvements. 90% of tax freeze parcels across the state are frozen in entirety, so it's house and lot, not much to it. Across the state, they have about 10% that are unfrozen, meaning they have other land or commercial business, they got a body shop on the back of the house or something like that. Taxes remain the same even with the tax rate increase or reappraisal, unless a physical change occurs with the property like we talked about. Non-frozen portion of the property, like we said, land that supports another use, improvements supporting another use, any additional residences. So So we have that sometimes where, I live on 20 acres and I've got a house and I let my brother live on the backside of mine, and he's got a mobile home. So we've got two residences there, we're only for one. Taxes remain the same on the frozen portion, but non-frozen, they just go with whatever the tax rate and values are. So we put that in red because, sometimes people enact tax freeze and then they come back and say, well, I thought all the properties were frozen. It's not as simple as that, I guess is what I would say. This talks about the frozen tax adjustments for property changes. So what we're looking at is what the physical change percentage in value caused compared to the taxes. So if I added square footage on my home and that made the value increase by 15%, my tax amount would increase by 15%. These are just some examples of frozen tax adjustments, new additions to a home. I got an unfinished upstairs and I finish it out, get a permit for it, that's a change. Prorations, existing improvements that are newly discovered, that happens sometimes. I applied for the program and then right after I applied, I went out and built a detached garage. It got frozen, and during the assessor's normal course of reviewing every property over so many years, they go, ooh, there's a garage out there, I gotta pick that up. Well, not only did they pick it up, they have to pick it up and then adjust that frozen tax amount too. Requalifications, the applicant has to requalify every year, as we mentioned. The collecting official accepts the application, determines if they're still eligible, they're gonna review it, make sure residency and ownership hasn't changed, and then submit it to the assessor. The assessor's gonna verify the ownership too, verify the frozen portions of the property, update any amounts that they needed, and then send it back to the collecting official where they're gonna store it in that website. Reappraisal year, I did jump ahead on this, to answer your question, but properties are revalued just as if they were not on tax freeze. So for a new applicant, in a reappraisal year, that becomes their base frozen amount. So if you enact it and come onto the program the very first time during reappraisal, that's my frozen amount. As I mentioned, for requalifications, the frozen taxes stay the same. Base adjustments, as we mentioned, can change it, and then when the taxes go down, the taxpayer pays the lesser of the frozen versus the actual, and the frozen amount resets to, I think I said earlier, it was a 2013 law change, it's actually 2014, so law 5 years. So this gives us a good example here that we see if year one my taxes are frozen at $800, that's when I first joined the program, calculated taxes are $800. The actual taxes paid are $800. Next, let's say that if we went through a reappraisal and certified tax rate, my taxes go down to $700. Actual taxes paid are $700. That becomes my new frozen amount. So we go down to year 3, and in year 3, the tax rate goes up. Tax rate goes up a little bit. So we calculate my taxes at $775. $775 is less than my original $800, but it's more than my $700. I would still just pay my $700. So it becomes my new tax. There are rules of the state board that annual tax freeze reporting has to occur. The collecting official has to furnish the following information to us every year on or before December 15th. Total number of taxpayers on the program, the aggregate amount of actual taxes paid subject to the freeze, the amount of actual frozen taxes, and any other information required by the provision. Good news is, because your assessor's on impact, we just run those totals for you. We pull the totals out of that system and then report it to the General Assembly, so your collector won't even actually have to do that portion. We do it for you. So, property tax freeze things to remember. The entire property may or may not be frozen. Frozen tax amounts are adjusted by the assessor to reflect physical changes, and it's the tax amount that's frozen. like anything else. These are our contact folks. We answer a lot of questions, especially if a jurisdiction just enacted tax freeze. We do training, we help out as much as we can. But as I mentioned, it is a local program, so it will have to be administered by your collector and property assessor.
Married couple both have to be 65 or just one?
I believe it's just one, but it will be the total household income. So the entire household will have to make less than your median income.
Even if the property is only in one person's name?
It would be whoever the owner of the property are.
If there's just one party in the household that owns the property?
That's all you can.
Okay.
No matter who lives there.
If it's in the husband's name and the wife's not on the deed, then it's only counted as one income?
No. So you're saying maybe I misunderstood your
I'm
question.
saying, let's just say me. I own my farm, my wife's not on the title. Does her income count toward that?
Are you married and she lives there?
Yeah.
Yes, then both incomes count.
Even though they're not a party to the ownership?
Right. Yeah, that was a change that the General Assembly made when they very first put the program in '07, when it started coming out. It was, you had folks that would, I'm gonna make up an example here, but I work and, my wife is a stay-at-home mom. They would quit claiming the property over, I quit claiming the property over my wife's name, and my income's not counted at all, and she had no income, so I qualified for the program. Now it's combined.
Okay, if you have a child living with you, that would be also included in a household income?
I don't think, if they're not owners on the property or married, no.
The wife is not part of the.
They're married.
Are you talking about an adult child?
Adult child.
That brings income in?
Yeah, they're not on the deed, they're not counted.
So is that where it's different in tax relief, because tax relief, you know, it is.
It's
Household income?
It's ownership income, actually. They would have to still be on the deed as well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are told that any income is living there, so.
Every benefit that I know of is based on household income, no matter who income it is. If the income is coming into that house, it's a household income.
Right.
Now, if you have a minor child, his income wouldn't be counted.
I didn't put minor child, but an adult child.
Yeah, my understanding, and I need some clarity on this, my understanding is for tax relief, it's married as a spouse or an owner of the property. The reason I say that is because you run into, in tax relief scenarios where, mom and daddy died and left me and my 3 siblings a house, right? It's all 4 of our names. I'm the only one that lives in the house. All 4 incomes are counted, because they're owners of the property. So even though my 3 siblings might live in Michigan, because they're on the deed, I have to count their income, even though I'm the only one that lives in the household. So we'd have to clarify that for you. But my understanding as now, and I can clarify with you, and you can, once I get back to my hotel room or something, or maybe tomorrow, I can clarify with you. I'm pretty tired, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'll clarify with that. My understanding is it's owners of the property or spouses in that example. They kind of closed up that loophole.
Ryan, it does say resident remainder is how the wording I've got here is.
So is that for life estates?
Could be.
Yes.
But it is worded the same as the tax relief. when I'm
Would be
looking at both.
considered an owner, the income of any owner of a remainder or reversion interest.
Yeah, so if you had a life estate, if I had a life estate, I'd have to look into that,
But
but
if I'm a remainder, then my income would be counted even if I didn't live there, you lived there. F2.
okay. Yeah.
Our attorney, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it doesn't count adult children, it doesn't seem to under F2.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, my understanding is it's not household income based. Any other questions?
Are there any estimates of how many homeowners would benefit from this in Dade County?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
Well, Stacy does the tax relief, so she would know that, more than my office would as far as how
Well,
many.
once again, what you're asking is who would benefit from this? You know, we had the numbers back there for the tax relief at the 37.5 income limit. What income limit are you asking?
Let's just for sake of rough estimation, the lower income limit, you know, because we're hundreds of dollars difference. So
Right.
It would give the commission a ballpark to think about.
Yeah, that, I can go back, the short answer is no, we don't have any estimates, because it's based on income. I don't have the income of everybody in
I
Dade
mean, I
County.
can tell you how many that we have on tax relief, if that's.
Yeah.
And I think I've got that up here too,
Okay.
Stacy.
Okay.
24, I ran the latest numbers,
Okay.
wherever that was. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so for 24, Nix County had about 235 citizens, that qualified. Of course, that was a lower income limit than the 37, because the income limit was less than 24. But 235 folks, we paid out $47,561.
But you can't go a lot of, because since it's different with tax relief than that, you can't really say, because the veterans, some do make more,
Yeah.
so.
Even from this, all you could say is 135 people of these
Right.
would qualify for any income limit, because they're low-income elderly and they're below the state limit. But how many of the 24 low-income disabled are over 65? And, you know, I don't know, how many disabled veterans?
And that gives us a rough estimate.
Sure, yeah. Now, if you went with the
135-ish.
you went with the 63,000, now you're talking about a lot. It's a good question.
Let me just throw in some, Bradley County kind of, did a little study for me, and, they studied 6 parcels that was on tax freeze. And, one parcel from 2007 until this year, the total savings on tax freeze was $1,582. And then the lowest one that they studied, the savings from 2007 until this year was $254. And I asked the assessor what the difference is, and he said, well, the one that saved $1,582, the property was located in a higher end subdivision in Cleveland. He said the other one that just saved $254, he said that was located in the city of Charleston, where the property values are not as high or as hot as what the subdivisions of Cleveland are. I mean, I just kind of was surprised that a lot of them's not a whole lot of money. Go down the list here, $48, $62, $3, $70, $80, $1, $7, $1, $55, $49, $11. So not really that much money that I was not as much as I was expecting. You know, I'll give you a couple other examples, like Keith Klinger there, I don't know if you want me to tell you where he lives, but Keith lives in 10 Mile, and, his savings would not be near as much as a property owner that lives down the road in Red Cloud, because the property, is a lot higher valued in Red Cloud than the area where Keith lives there. So.
That's a good point, Billy. I mean, it's, as we talked about, it's the taxes that are frozen, and so as, you know, Bradley County's been on it since the inception in '07, so if you have a home in 2 different areas, their savings aren't gonna be the same across the board of the county, across the board in the county. If you got one area that's going up, and up, they're gonna get more savings. If they're not really appreciating the savings that they're gonna get, it's not gonna be as much.
Is the trustees' cost gonna go up in her office to maintain this?
I get that question every time I give this presentation, and actually, usually the way it's phrased is, am I gonna have to hire more people to do this? And my answer is always, it depends. Every county office is different, you know, staffing is different, roles are different, so can it be absorbed, with existing staff in some counties? Yes. Has it caused other counties to have to hire people? Yes, it just depends.
I read on the website, Hamilton County, they're thinking it's gonna cost them $350,000 a year.
Of lost revenue.
Or they said like a startup to do it.
Lost revenue is what I heard was $300,000.
You know, and that's why I stress in this is administered locally. Your two offices are gonna take on more work. How much it affects their current workflow, I don't know.
I could see it affecting the property assessor more than the trustee's office, I don't know, but.
I think the option, I think it's gonna make her job harder, because it's coming to you, correct? All the
I feel
paperwork.
like I do the application, I send it to him, and then he has to go out, so
So it's gonna-
things, I mean, we both do, see, I've got, April's our tax relief person, that's what she does, it takes her a few hours in the morning to do that, so bringing in more, it's just gonna take her away from more people, I mean, you know,
Yeah, it's more responsibilities for both offices. How much that impacts them, I can't quantify for you, but it is more work to administer.
Julie, did you mention to me I think you mentioned to me you estimated around $20,000 revenue loss?
That's just kind of what I was going off of based on what Bradley County has. Yeah, I mean, there's really no way to tell that the first starting off. We don't know who's
Till
gonna
all the
apply.
applications are in, you ain't gonna know, are you?
No, I mean, the deal is, you know, I guess when y'all get ready to set the tax rate in June, July, August or so, that's when we would know by then what you're looking at. But, as far as, you know, January, February, we're not gonna have a clue how many people is gonna apply.
1 penny equals
33,000.
33,000?
Can I ask you a question?
Well,
Go ahead.
hold on one thing, I was just gonna,
Go ahead.
to Billy's, point about the timeline, you know, we wouldn't know until July this coming year how much it would affect. You know, the timeline, I won't even try to go back to it, but the timeline is you gotta apply April 5th. So if you want it to be for this 2025 tax year to be frozen, you would need to enact it, get all the applications out, get all the applications back in, and approve everybody by April 5th in order to meet that 2025 deadline. If not, and likely not, then what you're doing is you're freezing their 2026 tax amount, which would include if you did anything with the tax rate in July. So you'd be freezing 26, that would be base
So
year.
you're thinking it'll be pushing it to get that done?
26 is our reappraisal year.
Oh, okay. So that, yeah, I mean, this is November, so you could, you know, you could enact it, and then you could start taking applications, and have them in, qualified, and everything by April 5th.
Now, Ryan, are you meaning, when you're saying 2025 tax year, are you meaning 2026? Because, see, you've got people paying 2025s right now. If they applied in January of 2026, Ms. Hyde's gonna have to be giving people money back. I don't think that's the.
No, you gotta remember, it's just that very first year that it's frozen,
Okay, yeah.
nothing happens.
Okay.
So the very first, whether, you know, if y'all get it in and get it implemented, and you get everybody done by April 5th of 2026, you can freeze them this 25 amount, and then if anything happens with your reappraisal, it would affect it, you know. But that would be at tax billing time for 2026, not 2025. 2025, you just be frozen. If you don't get it in and implemented by April 5th, now you're talking about freezing them in 26 during the reappraisal year, and then they wouldn't see any benefit until at least 2027 if you were to raise the tax rate, if that makes sense. That would be the
Are
time.
you saying if we raise the tax rate?
If you lock them in, in 26 at what their reappraisal tax amount is, and then you don't adjust the tax rate for, 5-year cycle?
5 years.
5 years. You don't adjust the tax rate for 5 years, they don't get any benefit. They're just frozen at the amount of when they were frozen, and you don't see a benefit until a tax rate increase would happen. Yes, sir.
You guys do redo that every year, right?
What's that?
Apply for that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, have to reapply every year.
And is it separate applications, correct, from the tax relief and tax-free, because separate amounts?
So, you can do, we have an F-22 form that will let you take income information one time for both programs. But the problem is that will only work for the ones that qualify for tax relief also. So the ones that are on tax-frees, well, you're still just taking their income one time, so.
So question though, because we send it to the state, and the state checks their income and everything, but it said in here that elected official would do that. So how do I?
You check the income for tax relief now.
They bring in their social security, but then we send it to them and.
Right, we make the final determination
Oh,
at the tax
so the
relief. Tax relief,
the tax-free.
you would make the final determination.
So that's why I'm saying, so, like on tax relief, they just bring me their form, but then I send it, and you check with the social security, so would I be checking with the social security and stuff too, or?
For,
Is that,
yeah, you would have to verify all the income.
oh, so see, that would be more, that would be,
You can do, if you qualify for tax relief, you can do one application and supply the information once. The trustee will have to do a little more work on the back end, but she won't have to do like 2 full applications worth. But on the ones that would be above the limit, you would have to check all the, if there's no back end verification from us like there is for tax relief.
that's, yeah, that's, I think that's trying to do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from any of the commissioners, or anyone in the others have a question on tax freeze?
Please ask while you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, please ask while,
Yeah,
while we have the knowledge.
yes.
Anyone?
Go on. And if you want to read up a little bit more about it, there's some information on the comptroller's website. Appreciate it, thank you all so much.
Thanks for coming.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, yes.
Can you bring me that key?
Oh, yeah, I do that.
Zach, I might need a little help.
Okay, thank you.
And then go back to the other side. Maybe that side. There you go.
We had a sheriff's office there,
Which button? Whittle.
inmate. Okay, next we have the jail memorandum. Jim?
My feeling is that you've heard so many numbers, and it's so inundated that, let me try to simplify this, and then to the degree we need to come back and get details, we can do that tonight or another time. First of all, each one of you should have on your front of you, okay, and you see that on the right-hand side, there's 5 tabs. Okay. Tab 1 is the core report itself, and that's what we're gonna come back and look at. Tab 2 is an aerial of the existing, and the existing plan as was identified in the drawings provided by the county, which we all know and knew is not what's out there. Tab 3 is the proposed site plan that we're gonna address in here of what might could be. Tab 4 is the proposed floor plan. And then tab 5 is appendix, which is support information, copies of the PowerPoint that we did last month. So that's what you've got. Now, hopefully just going through tab 1 will get us to where we want to go, at least at a overview level. And then we can look at details if you want. So let's turn to tab 1. And let's assume or pretend we're in some grade I had in high school. You had textbooks that actually had the answers in the back. Go back and look at them. So let's pretend that we've got that, and let's go over to page 3 in this memorandum. So I'll give you the answer that I think you're kind of looking for, and then we'll come back and support it. So if you're looking at page 3, it should say in the bottom right-hand corner, in tab 1, but it's page 3, and there's a little graph in the middle. You see it? 3 columns of numbers. Okay. What this speaks to is relative apples-to-apples cost. Column 1 is the Memorial Drive site at 130 beds. Column 2 is the Kennedy site at 130 beds. And column 3 is expanding the existing jail at 130 beds. The first 2 columns are amended numbers because, number 1, it's a year and a half, 2 years later from the time we first looked at it. And it's also, back then, we were looking at, I think, around 143, so it's a different count, slightly different count. So we adjusted those to get it to be apples to apples here as we could. Okay, so there's 2 lines. One says DCC, one says TCC. We're all together there? The DCC is the projection of bid cost. So if you read the newspaper, the library bid at $1 million, that's what that's equivalent. But you know that that building, not all of it is done for that million. There are soft costs and other things that are involved with projects, and you're aware of that. So that next line, TCC, is that line. So if you look at the first column, the Memorial Drive, DCC is around 25 million in our projection, and the TCC, all the soft costs, everything involved, fees and everything, it's around 30 million. And so if you look across, what you find is that our 130 existing jail site has roughly a difference variable of between the existing jail site being expanded to 130 beds, and the other 2 sites is roughly 45 million. That's a today cost, and there are some details assumed in that. We're going to come back and kind of walk through that a little bit, but it can work. We show a way that we believe it would work. It's not perfect, but it's functional, and there's that relative value difference. And again, this is today cost because there's no schedule. So there's nothing to project to. But now, with that, let me go back and kind of quickly read through the report, and then you'll understand sort of what's backing those numbers. Everybody comfortable with where I'm going? All right, so coming back to that first page, we wrote this memorandum, we've done this assessment. This assessment addresses 2 questions. I know it's boring, but let me just read through it real quick, and then we'll stop for questions. The assessment addresses 2 questions. One is update existing jail to current code. Provide a budget projection for updating the existing jail to current standards. Now, you see a footnote there, footnote 1. So some of these things we think there's some need to be additional information. Look down at the bottom. Okay, we're saying provide a budget projection for updating the existing jail to current standards. We're saying that with footnote 1. The assumption is all systems would be brought to an approximately like new status, not just make do. So there are certain assumptions we've got to make as we're going through this process. We're going to be all over the place and try and make it apples to apples. So coming back up, projected bed count to be identified. So that's the number 1 question. talked about this last month, I think we're all agreed. Number two, the second question, and maybe the more important, is developing a 130-bed jail using the existing. Provide a preliminary layout and budget projection for using the existing jail and housing to provide a total of approximately 130 beds. And again, we're assuming systems brought to approximately like new. PowerPoint presentation was made prior to this memo at the October 9th meeting. The presentation in part contained photographs of representative existing conditions at the jail. You see the reference there, see tab 5 appendix for PowerPoint of some of these slides. I'm not going to go back there. I said that the PowerPoint copies are back there. Now there's the compressed slides. However, the county does have a thumb drive of the whole PowerPoint if somebody wants to go back and look at those details. So the importance at that time and now is that we all sort of have the same starting point for this meeting. You saw those slides. You saw the conditions. You know what we're kind of referencing. Okay, so let's go forward and talk about that question one. Updating existing jail to current code. Question one addresses updating the existing jail to current standards and identifying a budget and bed count. See tab 2. So in here, I referenced those tabs. I'm not going to go through those either, but it shows the existing, what's there. Continuing to read now. The existing jail site is approximately 2 acres located at River Road. The existing jail structure is approximately 9,200 square foot total, with approximately 7,900 square feet for the jail part and 1,300 square foot used for 911. A separate sheriff's office, about 4,700 square feet, is located across the park. The existing jail is comprised of several structures built circa 1962 and circa 2002. The 2002 portion was not built according to existing drawings. There may have been other renovations and changes for which no drawings exist. That's a general Langford statement. I spent a lot of time trying to relate those existing drawings to what is physically there. I'm suspicious, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm suspicious that there were other minor renovations or interim renovations. There may have been some drawings for it at some point in the past. I couldn't find them, nobody knew about them, but just looking at what's there versus what's in the drawings makes me wonder about that. The 1962 portion is primarily concrete masonry walls with a roof at 12 feet above finished floor. The 2002 portion is concrete block walls with no fill. There's an asterisk there. That's typically a secure jail have the cells of the block filled, and there's additional security rebar. And the roof is at 15 feet above finished floor. So in some ways, you have sort of a conventional building there that is being used as a jail. Several memos based on multiple trips. See tab 5 of the appendix. Again, memos of those trips identify a variety of code-related, age-related, and construction-related issues. In particular, the facility systems, structure, HVAC, electrical, secure electronics, plumbing, fire protection, communication, are also addressed in various memos. And again, that's in the appendix of tab 5. I'm going to the second page. In summary, except for the structure and possibly some communication and security electronics, all major systems have exceeded their service life, especially since as-needed only maintenance has been conducted. That's our observation. Further, all systems appear to have been repaired, replaced, and/or augmented with minimal consideration to security considerations. You saw those slides where electrical things were put back in place, but it looked like something you do in a commercial facility. Regarding bed count, we project a reduction in beds in the 1962 portion of up to 16 beds. From the currently 20 allowed for that component, depending on specific layout and intended use. This is due to the lack of square footage available to provide required day room space per Tennessee Corrections Institute requirements. You see footnote 5, it references the specifics of that. In the 2002 portion, we believe there might be a reduction of only a few beds, if any, again, depending on layout and specific use. Budget and beds. In summary, we estimate the existing jail, upgraded to current code, would be able to house approximately 40 inmates. This is a reduction from the 56 beds the current facility is licensed for through TCI. We recommend a budget of approximately $6 to $8 million to upgrade the existing facility to current code, including replacing most systems, increasing the security level of the envelope, and adjusting the site to maximize parking. This is a today budget since no schedule exists. Now, my view of this is really informational. I won't explain why we asked this, but you wanted to know this and we provided it, so I'll just leave that lay. Let's go now to the 130-bed jail using the existing. Question 2 addresses using the existing jail to create a 130-bed jail, meeting current standards and identifying a companion budget. Further, and I italicize this, further, ideally, the concept developed allows for effective operations and long-term expansion. Now again, that was an assumption that I placed on this, that you did not expressly ask, but if we could achieve it, I thought it would benefit you and the county. The following are important existing conditions contributing to an effective solution. And we talked a little bit about this last month. The detention support portion of the jail is approximately 7,900 square feet. The preliminary programming completed in 2024, which you authorized us to do, identified the jail support space needs to be about 8,000 square feet. It's very close to matching. That's good, that's useful to us. 2, the current site allows for the addition of the 130 beds needed in a configuration which optimizes inmate management. That's huge, because your long-term cost is staffing. The location of the 130 beds is on the side of the site which is adjacent to available property, i.e. the candy park. So the fact that where you can put this happens to be on the side expanding in that direction is also useful. It lends itself to the concept that we're suggesting to be looked at. The attached preliminary site/floor plan, see tab 4, that's back there, and I'm not going to go back there. You can look at it at your leisure. Shows how the expansion can be accomplished. The basic idea is to use the existing jail to contain most of the required support functions such as booking intake, medical, kitchen, laundry, and so on, since the square footage needs closely aligns with the existing amount available. And I'm going to turn over to page 3. Then a partial housing pod can be added adjacent to the existing jail in a location where the sheriff's office can remain as located currently. The housing can be located and configured to allow future expansion in the direction of available property. The available property allows future expansions such as adding beds, new support functions, new sheriff's office, and/or courts, depending on desire and need, configuration, and how much land you get. However, one need that exists now and will continue to exist, one thing we'll have to speak to if you move this direction, is additional parking in the impound lot. They've kind of used what's available behind the sheriff's office as their work area, half parking lot for staff. And we're going to need all that space for housing. So we'll need to speak to that in some form or fashion, which would suggest maybe at least considering buying a portion of Kennedy, or at least have a solution. The impound yard could be somewhere else. It doesn't have to be adjacent to the work yard. It could be someplace. Wouldn't be convenient. Wouldn't be ideal. But that could work. But the parking for the jail itself, the parking for the jail, it needs to obviously be there. There are savings in this approach from, this is where we get that relative difference in the budget we talked about. Reusing the existing jail for key functions, but not housing, there's roughly, we estimate a 10 to 15% value of existing stuff, what is there, that can be maintained. Leaving the sheriff's office as is in this phase, just leaving it where it's at. Not needing as much additional property in this space. Not needing to invest in developing the entire Kennedy site. Because what we're doing, certainly could use a little of it, but we're not talking about building buildings over there or whatever. We're talking mostly parking and maybe impound at most. All right, so budget. The following is a plan. Let's talk about that more just for a second. We have not done a specific design for you yet. went through programming. That programming was done a year and a half ago. But we have an approximate idea based on experience of what's needed, and we've applied that and done a partial programming with staff. That needs to be finished. We have assumed some things about what a floor plan might look like and would fit. That needs to be confirmed with staff. There's a lot of, so this is a planning level budget. But with that said, we feel very good about what we're presenting to you. The following is a planning level budget for Memorial Drive concept, Kennedy concept, and the existing jail expansion concept. The Memorial Drive and Kennedy site budgets have been adjusted to reflect a 130-bed jail and sheriff's office to provide an equivalent comparison to a 130-bed existing jail expansion concept, which is exactly what we said when we looked at the answers first. All planning budget numbers have been adjusted to current day. Again, we don't have a schedule. So again, we come back to the matrix. You can see and look at the matrix, and then a couple of notes below it. There will be added long-term costs in expanding the 130-bed existing jail concept, such as eventually needing a new sheriff's office, which will be in future dollars. Also, future development of Kennedy property occurs, or whatever, those monies will be in future dollars. Again, keep in mind preceding or today numbers, the numbers are approximately apples to apples relative to each other developing. The 130-bed existing jail concept will be $4 to $5 million less expensive in phase one. Let me shut up for a minute. I think we've touched on what you were looking for. We appreciate the chance to do this. Any questions?
How much percent, I missed, how much percent of the existing, you said we actually used?
Existing building?
Yes.
We use the whole building.
I mean, you said 10 to 15%?
No, what I was saying there is that when you go back into the existing building, how much really value is there in other words, how much existing value in the existing is there that you don't have to, in essence, build or spend new?
Okay.
And we're saying there's about 10 to 50% value in the structure, the floor, the roof structure, the building, what's there.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, the other big amount is the things that need to be replaced, all the systems and things that are going on.
Oh, I just missed that, I just didn't understand. Thanks.
Using the existing structure, we would still have to pay to house our inmates somewhere else while this construction.
No, in fact, there's a footnote.
Sorry.
There's a footnote here that speaks to that. I kind of ran by that. If you look on page 2.
Sorry, that's one thing.
No, that's okay. I did not touch on that. I should have. That's a very important item. Down at the very bottom, you'll see a footnote. Hold the mic punch out. This does not account for the cost of housing inmates at other locations during construction. This is projected to be in the hundreds of thousands at least if we go a direction where we're just trying to redo and bring the current up to code. That's what that footnote was for, that first section.
Yeah.
But in this second version, where we talk about taking it to 130 beds, I mentioned it last month. The idea, turn to tab 3. Now, this is just a site plan. Floor plan is tab 4, and you can turn back there if you want, but tab 3 gives you concept. What we do is we phase the construction. So before we close down the existing part, we get the new beds built.
So we can just move the inmates.
You move the inmates over. It's going to be more complicated than that, because you move the inmates over, but when you close this down, you're also closing down your booking intake. So what we're going to need to do.
And laundry and kitchen.
And laundry and kitchen and everything else. And so, if you go over to tab 4, we've been there, we've done this before. So look at that first sheet, and this shows the proposed things that would go back into the existing building. It's the kitchen, the laundry, the booking intake, it's all those functions. What we have to do then, all right, go to the second tab, and you see the new housing in pink. Everybody with me? What we would have to do is take one of those slices of the pie and temporarily outfitted to do all the other intake process functions. And then we also have to make some arrangements to get food and get the laundry and those things done during that interim. And it could be 6 months to a year, some of that going on. We've done this before, we did it in Robertson County. We've done it in the past where you either set up some temporary food kitchens, or you bring in some food kitchens and trailers, or you make arrangements, and this, all this is subject to review and working closely with TCI. There could be, we've done this in the past, where you arrange for TV dinners that meet dietary requirements. But again, all those things would need to happen, but you're not sending 50 to 100 inmates someplace else for a year, and that's huge.
So you're saying this right here is actually cheaper than actually having to move certain inmates?
Well, I don't know what that amount is, but you probably.
There'll be a cost, but we don't know what it's gonna be for the extra laundry and kitchen until you get the other part.
But in our opinion, our guesstimate, we believe that that's in that page 3, those amounts, we believe we've got enough cushion to do that, we think. But again, some of this is making assumptions based on what we've done in the past. It definitely would take y'all's cooperation, but we think we're accounting for that.
Okay.
And we've been there before, so.
When you're discussing this, to go ahead and build a new bedding areas and then move our inmates to that, is the new bedding area going, is it supposed to be on the Kennedy property?
No.
Because we don't own it.
There's nothing on here in your property.
Go to that tab 3, go to tab 3.
Yeah.
See what's in blue there? The whole site, the current site that you have is in blue. Everything, as far as construction, is gonna be on site that you already own.
Future development, or if we want extra
We've
parking.
got some parking
fine,
and some impound things, it's not just one, there's a need, and I think there's gonna be some demand, we're gonna need to figure some of that out, but all construction is on the property you have right now. And there's some kinks to work out here, you got the 3-phase power line running back there. There are details to pan out, but we believe this could work.
Well, it was discussed that maybe the Kennedy property is going to have to be acquired. We've already bought property right out here.
He took care of that.
I still want it right out here.
That's y'all's decision. What we wanted to do was to honestly answer the question you asked.
There's not gonna be anywhere to park out there.
There's a parking issue.
It's gonna be a cluster.
I believe we can buy, it's 4 to 6 million, right, roughly, with the estimates we got here, the difference from out there, so we could get parking somewhere right there without spending an extra 4 to 6 million going out there.
I know. I'm for moving.
That's y'all. We tried to address your questions.
But we ain't gonna have no more growth out there in 30 years to add another 100 beds
You could.
out here at the Kennedy property.
You would need to go over there and get, if you, go to tab, go to tab 4, and look at
Everything out there now, they're explaining, they brought a good diagram here, we're using the existing, every inch of the existing that we got.
You
If
see
we want
this
to
one?
expand in the future, we do have to buy something.
This is
But right now, this is a workable plan.
the controls in the middle, and what we're doing here is doing like 3/4 of an apple pie. The sheriff's office eventually could be moved, and we can finish the rest of the apple pie. And then we can add other sheriff's offices, and then if you do get the Kennedy property, you can move in that direction and build a courts, component, whatever. So this has the potential of long-term doing what you want. Now, there's gonna be some headaches with this, and then we've got some hallways that are gonna be a little bit longer, we're taking food from the kitchen a little further than if we were doing something ideal, but that's not the question we were asked. It's can we do it? And the answer is yes, it can be done. We will.
Well,
So we spend,
we're looking out for this county in the future. We don't need to be putting Band-Aids on.
we spend $25 million to use the existing facility. I'm back to page 3 in tab 1. We spent $25 million to use the existing facility up to code with a total number of 130 beds versus we spend $30 million, which is a difference of less than $5 million, right at $5 million for a brand new, shiny facility at Memorial Drive. Or we spend another $1.5 million to put it at Kennedy property.
And that difference is there's, and we noted this a year and a half ago, there's a little bit of a premium on site work at the Kennedy property.
So we're saving $4 million and still having a 1962 facility. That don't make sense to me.
No, we're having a new facility, but we're just using the portion that we can use.
We still have a 1962 with unlimited parking with
We're
no
gonna have
room for
crazy
growth
roads.
unless you spend another $500,000.
Rick, I think
$500 million, we're gonna spend $500 million there.
the parking issue could be solved by just taking the, state highway department property and move them down to the industrial park.
We can't just take them.
This county does not want to get rid of that state highway department.
But I didn't say get rid of it, I said move them down here, move them to the industrial park.
That's
We
not
don't
our
own the
call.
damn industrial park, Billy, don't you understand that?
Well, Chris,
No, we don't.
We bought this, the damn taxpayers did.
We can't use it.
well, they gave
Oh,
them
yeah, we can do
okay to, they've agreed to.
They have agreed to it in the past, they said they would want an equal or better building, but they would move, I believe, who was spoken, was you mayor or the former mayor?
I have.
Okay, well, the former mayor has spoken to the state and they are willing to move with, I'm sure.
Well, see, we've got Dan Howell.
Now,
Dan Howell is chairman of the Transportation Committee. So he's got, our state representative has a lot of pull right now in the Department of Transportation. And I've said it multiple times, you just need to send a letter to the head of the Department of Transportation requesting the property.
I think if we move them from this facility out here, this is just a satellite. It's not a big company, I mean, it's not a big organization, it's a satellite. I think they'll move it all to
McMinn County.
McMinn County.
Yep.
And then service Macon County through McMinn.
They may do it, but we're not.
I mean, they're basically doing it now, right?
That's the way they do our snow.
Yep, that's what I'm saying, it's basically happening that right there now.
They do it now.
Yep, that's that right, I mean.
Well, listen, there's something else to throw in there too. I think when he was doing his thing on the pipe, this is just 20%. You got another 80% that's gonna be stacked. Y'all better be thinking about that too. Have I said it right?
Yes, sir. Long-term cost, more than 80% of your cost, dollars actually spent in some staffing and other things.
It's our job to supply this county with a jail. We were all elected to come up here and make hard decisions. And this is the hardest one most of y'all will see.
Actually, you're not required to have a jail. We are not required to have a jail.
You have to have a sheriff.
I didn't say the sheriff, I said we don't have to have a jail.
Well, where's he gonna put his prisoner?
There it is.
You'll have deputies everywhere except here working where they're supposed to be.
The same state law says we don't have to have it.
Well,
We've got a litter crew of about 6, we've got a mowing crew, maintenance crew of about 5 or 6. We have, a crew that cleans the facility here, 4 or 5. 4. And, I mean, it'd be hard to put those people in Ray County or McMinn County or Bradley County or wherever and go get them every day to do our maintenance.
Yeah, go pick one up, go sit at the hospital with him.
Yep.
When there's
I'll
some
be a little
jackass
better, I
down
agree with
there
that.
going in my house, it's stealing. And then
We
I'm
gotta
gonna
do
give
something,
something.
I agree with you, we have to do something on this. The way my personal opinion, you stay out here, it's a $5 million less adventure. We can use that, if we have to use that out there, I mean, it's still a less burden on the taxpayers' dollars. And we pacify the state, we get a good, safe environment for our officers. And it is add-on to in the future.
What's the price of that Kennedy property gonna be in the future?
Well, it could go up or down, the way I see it, Rick. You put a jail on your front yard, it might go up. You put a jail on your front yard.
down?
Huh?
Do you think Kennedy's would go down? Really and truly?
You got, it ain't
With us hanging by?
The only way, the only thing was good
That's how
to
this thing's paid for, hell, you ain't going to work that. I ain't neither.
It's our job to look out for the future of all our kids and grandkids.
Exactly.
We're not looking for today, that's what our problem is
Yeah.
right now, we're looking for the problem to fix it today, not in the future.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What happened to the industrial park? Is that not usable?
That wasn't included in this plan by this board.
We went to the economic development board meeting, and they gave you the property, I didn't know. You
No, it wasn't included in this study.
Oh.
Was that voted on?
Pardon me?
Was that voted on?
I don't believe they ever come to a vote. We're supposed to, but
We spoke to it, but
there wasn't enough interest in it.
Commissioner Manis, I called him and asked him exactly, specifically what he wanted in this, and I think they have furnished us with this. Exactly what he wanted. And this is what we discussed back months and months ago of what to ask Spirit to get us.
I agree.
I thought we voted on it.
We may have, I think we did vote.
No,
Voting on what, sir?
on
Decided what areas it was going to.
I don't remember.
We just met over there.
I'm aware of that.
Can I interject something?
Certainly.
Goes back to some, just a little off topic at this point, but just to say, Tennessee Code, section 57104, reads as follows, quote, "It is the duty of the county legislative body to erect a courthouse, jail, and other necessary county buildings." So,
Thank you.
Go ahead and read all the way to the end where it says that we can
I
go
read
ahead
it.
and, we can ship prisoners out to other areas.
Sure.
But
I read the entire, that's a direct quote of the entire code section.
So there's another section that you didn't read. Have we ever done a request for pricing in neighboring counties? Pardon me? Have we ever done a request for pricing? Like, let's get off of Shipment Mountain or anything like that, like, if you go with this $25 million option, and we're looking at a temporary, building a temporary kitchen, laundry, et cetera, can we ask for, put out a request for pricing to neighboring counties to see how much it would cost, to see which is most
Okay.
beneficial?
To answer your question directly, I would say no, we haven't done that. To answer your question with as much emphasis on reality, the state, Bob Bass, I'm gonna call on you. The state pays other counties to house state prisoners.
Yes.
What amount does the state pay to house a prisoner just in general?
If they're not on the accreditation program, Tennessee Department of Corrections pays $43 per day for a county to house an inmate until he can get this inmate moved into the TLC prisons. You won't be able to do that. You will be paying anywhere from $50 to $75 a day. You can't call a sheriff of Ray County right now and say, I wanna bring 50 inmates. He says, you're gonna sign a contract for $70 a day. So you do end up paying more. So, and and those are good questions you're asking, absolutely, but it turns out, so depending on the amount of inmates you've got, and I don't see anybody from the jail here today, that's the sheriff's department, but what are you running, about 60 inmates? Multiply that by 70, multiply that by 30, and then think about your transportation costs. So we've done some studies on that, and unfortunately, every time we've done those studies, it just did not make any sense whatsoever.
Where can I see one of those studies?
You can look at one at DCAB where we're talking about building a criminal justice center, and they elected not to. So because they didn't, it's gonna run in probably $90,000 to $100,000 more a year to transport inmates from the jail back to the courthouse.
I've been to Ray County and I've talked with Mr. Acar. I think that's how he says his name. And he would be more than glad to help us with the state prison.
Because they'll just pick it up. If you give them your state prisoners, then they transfer that account over. The state starts paying them, but you're not keeping a lot of state prisoners last time I looked at your numbers.
That's right, we're down.
They have been up in the past, haven't they, your state prisoners?
We ought to be keeping state prisoners.
Yeah, in the past you had a big number. I don't think the number's too big right now.
We'll never be set up like Ray County.
I think it's 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, the last time I looked, it was about 5 TDOC
It's a
prisoners.
very small number. At $70 a day, 70 prisoners is $4,900 a day.
Now times that times 30.
Times 30
Times 12.
is $147,000.
Now times 1 year. So 12 days.
So let's do the 70 times 70. 70
No way we can do
times
that.
70 equals 4,900 times 365 per year. That's $1,788,000. Just now.
So 12-year ROI versus building 25 million.
That's not including medical.
Or transportation.
Or transportation.
Or when we gotta bring them back here for a court date, I mean, it ain't big.
You'd sign a memorandum of
Mow our yard,
understanding.
pick up our trash, clean our courthouse, county business, or county facilities.
Yeah. But it should be done.
Don't have anybody do it.
I have a question.
Right at,
Why are we not looking at other architect firms for bids? Because there's no incentive for who to be a competitive project.
why are we not looking for,
Other architect firms for this project.
because we did that about 6,
7 years,
ago, 7 years ago.
almost 8 years ago, and like I told you outside when you asked me this question, I'll give it to the full, audience. There was two people, or 2 different companies contacted me, and I forgot the name of the one. Southfield was one, they come and made a representation. I invited the other one that stood here, they never showed up.
So
Maybe
there's only
excuse.
2 architect firms.
There's only 2 that we put out the bids for this, or.
That we put out the bid for?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
So why didn't we check with other firms? Why just 2?
That's only 2 that all that responded. You gotta think, ain't a lot of these bids out.
We did RFQ, 2 different with the bid and RFQ.
So who knew about this to submit? I mean,
Ma'am,
the state, the y'all?
No, you do that at the local level, the state doesn't have anything to do with that.
So I understood that you're the one that contacted Mr. Langford.
You misunderstood wrong.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
That was the name.
State of Tennessee will not recommend an architect to a county. Just like we don't have the authority to make you build a jail, as I've quoted in this room many times. Oh, over the last 11 years I've been coming down here. Just like state of Tennessee cannot tell you where to put that jail. We're here to help in any way we can, ma'am, and whatever y'all need, we'll do. Now, our authority stops at certification. So on December 3rd, the mayor and whatever representatives, the sheriff or someone is gonna have to come to Nashville and stand in front of our board and ask for your certification to be continued.
Did you say December 3rd?
December 3rd at 10 o'clock. So between now and then, we need to write up your plan of action and what you intend on doing. I will help you with that, and I wish you well with that. If this is what you wanna do, then write it up, and actually, I think this could be part of your presentation. Sitting here thinking about it now, this would be nice to put in front of them, to show the board that you're serious about correcting those issues and fixing that jail. So, well, I'll help you with it.
Well, I understand that we have like $1.5 million in our jail reserve now. And my concern is we go build this new jail, what's gonna keep it not being maintained like this old jail?
I would hope pride would.
Well,
I understand the internal.
Yes, and I really like you bringing that up.
Yes.
Because as you read Mr. Langford's report, it points out the maintenance that was done sporadically at that jail are just as needed. So, you know, Mr. Hart with CTAS actually did your needs assessment. I started with, back 11 years ago, with a snapshot saying, do you need a jail? Well, it said you did. I think you need one. And, you know, the very definition of a jail is you can lock it up, and half your jail won't even lock up. The doors will not even lock, nor have they locked in 15 years. So yeah, you need a jail, and so the people that have brought focus to this, and then hiring with Jim, doing the study, you're getting to the point that you're gonna have to make a decision. Now, the plan of action is there to help you. But what we've been telling, in my job, the way I take it is to help you maintain that certification. I want you to keep it. This will be the 11th time in 11 years, maybe 12, I have to go back and look. You've had to go in front of the board, what are y'all doing, talking? Well, you've done more than talk now. You got this in your hand, and I think this needs to be part of when you write up that plan of action, and I can help you with that. And you know, these gentlemen up here, they're taking this serious. I think they're all serious about getting this done. What I'm gonna have to do is stand up front of the board with the mayor and the sheriff and say, this is what's going on, because I am over this program. I'm over the County Correctional Partnership Program, so, that we've been doing down here the last 4 years. So, we'll see where this goes.
But that didn't answer my question about.
Back, do it again, let me see if I can try. I started my morning at 6, 400 miles from here, so.
Well, I'm just concerned about the
No.
maintenance has not been done.
We'll get back on that subject. I'm sorry, I didn't get on my.
That's the sheriff.
You need to protect your investment.
Every time this man or somebody from his office did their inspections, they wrote down what they found wrong. And turned it in. It's somebody's house out there that didn't fix it.
Who's counting?
The sheriff.
Where is he?
He ain't sitting in here,
So how are we on this phone?
but
That's like, we built a damn union, do you think it's gonna be any better?
he's accountable to all the citizens that voted for him. We're not his boss.
Typically, they hire maintenance people. And in a county that can't really afford maintenance people, they find people that can do that work and use inmate labor. And then subcontract out where they need, but they'll cross-train that person to be a correction officer too. So I have them do that. I have facilities that's all they do. They have a maintenance office and they go do this maintenance and take care of it. But it's really important to protect your investment. You're exactly right, the money you're putting in.
Mr. Bass, from from what you're telling me, it appears that you're working on behalf of Meigs County, or at least you're on Meigs County's side.
Always have been for 11 years.
Okay, and so when the county is to go in front of this board that you're talking about on December the 3rd, that you're gonna be supporting Meigs County, do you think it would be beneficial, or it would help for the commission to maybe get with our state senator and representative and get them involved to put some pressure on the
I don't
board to
want
keep,
no politician doing that.
even if they'll help you?
They ain't gonna help
Well,
us.
I don't think that's necessary, because
Well,
your board is made up of 2 sheriffs. So the board has a sheriff from a population of 300,000 and over, one from 300,000 less. It's made up of academia, and it's made up of a person from the governor's office. So it's a board of 7. It also has the Department of Corrections Commissioner on it now. He probably won't be there at this meeting, but, he may have a representative there. So they're all professionals, and they all understand this, and they actually run jails. And actually, one of those sheriff's jails under a plan of action right now, so he understands jail overcrowding.
so I know they've gotten involved before for other counties.
In my 26 years, I've never seen a state representative or senator at our board of control meeting.
Well, and it may just be them sending a letter, so, you know.
Yeah, they're kind of cautious to do that. To give y'all the short answer, this is all about litigation. We just live in a litigated world, and I hate that we do, but we do.
But it's also a political world.
And that too. You're right about that. So when that inmate sues you, right, he decides to sue Meigs, where's that senator gonna be? Or that if an inmate decides to sue you, where's that senator gonna be, or that representative? That's state.
Well, I know,
Federal.
I'm getting them involved, or I'm saying get them involved to keep your certification, to keep your liability insurance, where the liability insurance will be there. When the inmate decides to sue the county.
They typically don't. I'll tell you what they do inquire though. They'll call
Yeah,
and
I
say
mean,
what's going on.
they've told me that they've gotten involved with other counties.
They call and say, what's going on in the jail, Bob? What's the problem? I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyone else have a question from the audience, or any of the commissioners have a question for Mr. Bass?
I got a question about the jail. The only way we can afford a $30 million jail is basically to double everybody's property taxes in this county. Why can't we maintain what we have for 50 inmates? And if we have over 50 inmates, farm them out for the $70 a day, and that comes out 100% cheaper than a $30 million payment. We can't, that $30 million, the payment on it alone is gonna be over $1 million a year in interest. So if we maintain what we have, fix the locks, whatever needs to be fixed, don't remodel it, because now you're bringing up current codes, but we maintain what we have, keep it nice, and still have 50 inmates here to do all the work you're talking about, you know, your road crew, your cleaning crew, everybody will still be right here, and the long-term people, ship them out. If it's $70 a day, that's a bargain compared to the interest payments on a $30 million facility. And putting everybody in this county in debt with property tax. I mean, I'm paying over $3,000 a year for my mini storage now. Is that gonna go to 6? I mean, it's not gonna be worth owning a mini storage in Meigs County. I mean, this is ridiculous. The $30 million jail is, we don't have enough people in this county. Now, if you wanna invite Walmart in, or some great big stores or something, get something going here, but we don't have the infrastructure to accommodate a $30 million project like that.
Our studies says that, well, if you don't do a major construction, it doesn't have to be brought up to code. That's true.
Yes. We can maintain what we have, keep 50 beds, and then farm out the other ones, and it'd be one hell of a lot cheaper, and I'd like to see that graph before. There's not one voter in this county that would vote to double their property taxes for a new 130-bed jail. And I don't know where you come up with
I agree with you on
130 beds.
Dublin, but if, I mean,
It's gonna go substantially higher.
What happened to the review of the prisoners and what they're being charged for? I've heard
Yeah.
there's a lot of prisoners that are being housed that are back on child support or people on those lines.
not our area. tell the judicial system who to put in do.
Well, I understand that, but we should be able to work hand in hand with them. If it's, nonviolent offenders, things along those lines. I think Sheridan brought up about the ankle bracelets, the ankle monitors recently.
They have been doing that substantially. I mean, they went down in the last 2 months from, 92 prisoners in that 56-bed jail, and we've got today, it's probably 60.
The last time I talked to
52.
Bristol, the last time I talked to
So they have been
Brian,
doing
it
that,
was,
the judicial department has been helping cut back on where they can cut back. And that has helped us a lot.
So for the voters of this county, can we get an estimate on what it costs to fix what we have, fix the locks, repaint it, do whatever needs to be done to make it as good as it can be for being 60 years old, to house the 52 people, and then what it might cost to put 30 or 40 in another county per month, if we have that many in jail. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully the state does, get rid of the 5 we have that are state prisoners that are costing us $42 a day, or getting 42, because we're gonna be paying 70 now, for the overstock. I mean, it makes sense to me as a taxpayer to look at this option, because.
I'm a taxpayer too.
Yeah. But, you told me last time that you have the right to raise my property taxes as much as you want to pay your bills here. The commission can, so
that is a true thing.
that's unfair.
That is a true thing.
That's not right.
No, that's not right.
Sounds like a dictator to me.
It wasn't meant like that. but
We're gonna blow $30 million on this new justice center, and you're gonna pay for it. Like or not.
I'm gonna pay for it.
So you support raising property taxes to cover an approximately $1 million a year payment? per
That's
year?
just the interest.
Absolutely,
That's not even the interest, $1 million.
absolutely.
From the mayor's standpoint, Danny, do you support that too?
The question,
Do you support the property tax with
Raising property
$30 million
taxes.
and the interest of $1 million a year? Do you support that as mayor?
Well, we will have to do something, whatever we do, whether it's build on or build a new one, it'll have to come in the form of a property tax increase,
understand that.
whatever option.
I'm just asking if you're personally as a county mayor
Eddie don't get a
supporting
vote.
that.
He don't give a vote.
I didn't ask if you had a vote. I just need his position. What is your position as mayor
On building a new jail versus adding
on
on.
raising property taxes and paying this, what I consider an exuberant amount of property tax?
Why do we have to add on? I mean, that's.
I guess you're asking me if I will support raising property taxes to pay for whatever has to be done at the jail, whether it's build a new one or add on.
It's $30 million, your part.
No, I won't agree that if it's 30 million, but I will say that I will support raising taxes to pay for whatever the commission decides to do on the jail, whether it's build on or build new.
That's all I think.
Biggest thing wrong with Macon County, we have no industry, period. And that hurts tremendously. We just ain't got none, they ain't gonna let none come in.
How are we not letting any industry come in? That's what I read on Facebook, and how is that happening?
Well, you know, I know you don't know, do you?
No, I don't know. Tell me.
Not having a interstate or a railway is a big problem.
How, who, when did
Four
that
lane
happen?
highway is a big problem. That's the reason why we don't have a
You're
work
not-
done.
Ralph, I'm serious. I want to know.
We'll have to.
Well, when you double the taxes on the businesses we have, are they gonna stay or they gonna leave? If they're taxing, they would stay, I mean. I would stay.
Yeah.
But they more than likely won't, when they gotta make me county $1.08 to 100. Anyone else?
I would like to say thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bob, for coming, and Jim for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
Nice presentation.
Thank y'all for letting me.
Will anybody please take a look at what it costs to fix what we have, to maintain the 52 beds we have, so that we can look at an overage cost and kick this ball down the road, because doubling our property taxes right right now. I think if you put it on the ballot, either one of these options would flunk big time with the
If you put anything on the ballot, it's gonna fail. I mean,
Yeah, nobody wants higher taxes, and you're elected representatives, right? You're not representing the population, are you?
I am.
Because you know it won't pass, but you're gonna raise our property taxes, you're gonna take the other people, yes persons that you put on here, yes votes, to raise our level of property taxes.
Everybody was elected by their constituents.
Not one of them.
Area.
Wanda was appointed. She's not here, but. And you guys laugh about it. I mean, it's not a laughing matter. It's a lot of money on the line here. I've got a lot of life left in this county.
We had to fill her spot because the lady that held it.
I understand that.
She quit.
Yeah.
Next election, Wanda will have to run, she wants to keep it.
Yeah, but you guys are doing the same playbook you did when you remodeled this courthouse. A whole bunch of you don't wanna run next year, so you wanna vote this huge 50% tax increase in now. Bunch of you aren't gonna run, so a new commission's gonna come and say, man, property taxes have to go up, and I don't know why, you know.
I didn't vote on this damn courthouse being election.
Well, somebody did,
I wouldn't have
and
voted.
I understand a whole bunch of them.
If you wasn't from California and moved here to run your mouth, you'd understand.
Hey, you know what, I watched my town in California do the same stuff you guys are doing,
Well,
and you
we're
know
not
what?
interested.
It went to crap.
That's what we're.
That's what we don't want here.
Okay, everyone.
I didn't know how bad it was. I honestly didn't pay attention. I seen it happening, the new big jail in Reading. I thought, oh man, they're building a new jail, that's great.
Okay, order.
It all starts as a good idea and then it backfires.
Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Any commissioners? Okay, next item. Next item, we have sealed bids for the food insecurity grants. I'm gonna let the mayor speak to that.
You have 3 bids in your packet, that's what a majority of the paper in your packet is.
Again, thanks for coming. Thank y'all.
So the stuff that was bid out on this bid was a major equipment grant, a small equipment grant, a large equipment grant, a small equipment grant, and a bigger. And, we got some memorandum of understandings that got emailed out today, right at the end of the day, because some of you had questions about the ownership of this equipment. Would it belong to the county? Would it belong to the vendors? And so, as quickly as possible, I got those to Sheridan, and he began to look over, I don't know if he's prepared to speak on, but.
How much is it gonna cost the county? Taxpayers, so nothing.
This is that $302,000 grant that we got awarded 3 years ago, that's just been.
And if it does turn over to us, we don't have to maintain all this stuff or sell it.
You go back to the federal government.
It'll go back to them, not us.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's federal money. What I thought was going to be more of a gift to these vendors, like say the van and the refrigerators, it turns out that it's going to be a lease. That we will own it, they will lease it, and then at the end of the agreement, it'll be theirs.
But they'll do maintenance, insurance, everything on the road.
Correct. And if they quit providing the service, if they go out of business or the nonprofit folds, then the equipment will come back to us and it'll go back to the federal government, basically. Sharon, do you have anything you want to add on that? Some of these bids, didn't meet the minimum bid qualifications, so, the large equipment bid from Culinary Depot did meet the bid specs, so if the commission chose, you all could vote on that to approve that. And there's a vehicle bid, which is number 3, that met the bid requirement or the bid specs, and you could, if you chose, vote on that. There's another piece of this grant that didn't get bid on, and it's small things like, pans, spoons, really small items that,
the $92,000 bid you see there in the middle, it included all that stuff, but the bidder did not itemize what the costs were for each item, so it had to be kicked out. He just said, I wanna provide, 12 spoons, or whatever they needed. So it got kicked out because of that. Sheridan, what can you add on these lease agreements?
So, I need more time with this one titled subrecipient agreement, so I'm not ready to comment on that. I'm looking at this one titled lease agreement, and it refers to, equipment having acquisition cost exceeding $5,000. Here's a term, paragraph number 2. So it goes on, it looks like to me, return of equipment, that would return to the lessor, that would be accounting. And then it has an option to purchase equipment in paragraph 17, so I'm not sure they keep the equipment once they purchase it.
Do we wanna come Thursday, table this to give you more time to bring it back up next month?
I think it might be a good idea, I know it's been a long time already, and Sheridan's not had a chance to
That's what I'm saying, I mean, I'm not down to.
It don't look like it's ready.
Let's just plan on
Let's just table it.
Let's table it, and they have took 3 years to give us the money. Down the road, another one.
Especially, this where.
That way we give Sheridan enough time to look at it, we give them all.
Different places.
We had 3 bidders initially, one in the lower end, it was a Birchwood-based organization that served, they dropped out during the 3 years, they quit meeting some of the benchmarks, so they become ineligible. You've got Next Ministries in the middle and the Gathering Church up in Denver. And so they're all established nonprofits, but, we just got all the information dumped on us.
So we just got the 2 places that we.
Yes, they are
Two
2
more,
more.
I mean, I ain't doing that, let's say we give the man more time, give everybody more time to. Educate mine,
What I'd like to know is if the lease, if it is a lease, and then they give it up, and it comes back to us, are we gonna have to pay for anything, or can we get it back?
Well, I'm sure we'll just send it back, because
Or
we'll pay
sell
for
it
it up front.
Or sell it?
If you all agreed on this next week, we would go out and buy this van and all these refrigerators, and we would simply put them in these nonprofits to start using to distribute food. But if they went out of business, it would come back to us, and we would probably have to return it to the federal government if it.
So who's going to keep up with them doing what they're doing? If they're doing what they're supposed to do? Who's keeping up with them? Who's policing them?
Distributed.
I don't know.
Who, I mean, well, you.
Are they gonna run another business off of this and not even do what they're supposed to do?
Exactly what I'm.
Who's going to police
Like
it?
the van that you're gonna buy, the truck, or you're gonna maintenance it.
Well, it's specified in the vehicle lease that they assume, all the overhead costs of keeping it up, and that it can only be used for the purposes of the nonprofit. But, certainly, we won't be going in there to look in their freezers and make sure they just got food for their, it's not gonna go that deep. I'll just tell you.
Food in the freezer, not beer.
And are they over-serving?
Yeah, I'll just table
For one more month.
I think that'd be a wise thing.
Or longer, because this seems like one more month, I know.
Okay, next item. We have rezoning resolutions, rezone partial, this is FA.
What about the library? You missed the library.
Okay, I'm sorry. Library building lease agreement.
Sheridan, I'm gonna let you speak on that. He's been reviewing that, and he come up with some new.
They've already done work in it, right?
They've been doing a little landscaping down there. They've not done anything inside the building.
Well, we went from a memorandum of understanding that was basically a lease to a lease that has some terms that I don't think the county can agree to because we can't take on the kind of liability they're shifting to the county side. And I'm just sure that was something that they just took some terms and we could work through what that might mean. So I think probably, 1 or 2 relatively short conversations, we can clean that up and work with the documents they've got. But I think the county may want to consider setting a figure for insurance, because they had a term that says whatever the minimum the state would allow, and I'm not sure the minimum the state allows addresses immunity limitations under GETLO, that kind of thing. So I think the county may want to set insurance requirements rather than go with whatever the minimum the state allows. Is anyone here from the library who worked on this? Because I just wonder if they thought about what that lower limit might be, and if it's what they really intended. There was a waiver of subrogation, so if there were an insurance claim, the county might be left without recourse, but they gave themselves a different position on that, so they could see. So it just, we have to watch out for those kinds of things. I'm sure if, finance director were here to tell them, we don't want that kind of risk, that puts us probably on the wrong side of the comptroller with respect to our contract. So, and we cannot indemnify the library. The other question I would have for representatives of the library, who is actually leasing this? Is it Friends of the Library, the nonprofit, or is it the library? They're both on there, so I guess we would both have a right to possess it. And I would note that as I read this lease, it's 25 years, that renews automatically for 4 or 5 year periods after that. So we're giving them the option to keep this building, this property, but that's not 25 years. So I don't know if that's what the county wants.
Would it be something we need to table so we can speak with the head of the library?
Be there.
Or get them to make some revisions before Thursday. I have a feeling what we give those ladies was a copy of the lease agreement we did with the Fair Association. And I think they really tried to just prompt and paste, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. They were really.
Doesn't sound like it, sounds like they may have a legal
Well,
individual,
Liability insurance needs to be addressed, that don't need to be done.
we can table it, or we could ask, Sheridan to maybe pencil in the problems he has and the recommendations, and if they agree to that, maybe have you another copy that he's.
I think we could do that.
Sheridan, if you could satisfy your,
Sure.
get back with the mayor.
Does the county want to talk about a term of years that is acceptable? 45, to me, I don't make these decisions, you do, but if you want.
What do we do with the fire, was it 25?
I think it's 25.
What was the renewal of it?
I don't recall if it was addressed in there, maybe they used.
But as long as the library is open and running, they should be able to use that building the way I see it.
Is it the library or Friends of the Library that you want?
The library.
But not the Friends of the Library? So then that makes sense, I get that, problem. If it's a commercial lease, usually the landlord's responsible for the shell, the inside and all the improvements. And so the tenant's spending all the money on those things, and so they may get a 3, 5, 10-year lease, they don't get 25. So this is a very favorable term to offer 25, and I don't know that the county can consider whether to automatically renew after that, or both parties might have to agree to do something after that, or you could say 10 or 15 or 20, whatever term of years you like.
I don't have a problem, personally, I don't have a problem with a 25-year lease.
Let me make sure you understand, the Friends of the Library group is the group that has the money that's putting in, because they got this benefactor that's washing their money through their nonprofit to do for the renovations.
But we don't need to be in an agreement with a private organization.
But the library is the county department. That's what I'm saying.
Lease with the county.
That's what I'm saying, you can leave it as the library.
Yes.
If you leave it as the library is open, then that covers the Friends of the Library, because if the library's not open, it's done with. As long as the library's open, the Friends of the Library still got access to it.
Kind of like friends of the Cherry Movie Park down there, they've got a Friends of the Park. We, as a county, are not involved with them, we don't touch base with them, we don't speak to them, they don't speak to us, they don't ask us any questions, we don't give them any.
Who was the fair lease with? The fair lease, the fairground.
Mesa County Fair Association.
And that is a nonprofit, not.
They have their own president, their own board members.
So it's the same as Friends of the Church
take your point, I
You
do,
get what I'm
let me
saying?
think about that a little bit, if you would. But I hear where you're coming from.
Okay.
I do.
That's just what I see.
I see it.
So if we can get everybody, if we can get his concerns addressed and we bring you another version by next
Max
week.
25 years, max 25 years lease agreement, let's go with that.
Is that
If
okay?
they get 15, they like 15, whatever.
Max.
Max,
Or renewing,
to answer, to help you go along with
And
what
so, just analogizing to the fairgrounds, is that okay with the Friends of the Library, if that's what it needs to be?
you.
Would that change how you feel about term of years?
Well, I don't like tacking on that and then making it, 45, but I don't like that part of it, by no means. But I mean, like, I'm comfortable with 25, but
if it
but I
says,
don't.
if it says, make County Decatur a library agreement with, in parentheses, members of the park or friends of the library or something like that, just as a, kind of care of.
Let me work on it, I take your point, I'll come back.
Okay, is everybody okay? If Sheridan, if our attorney gets himself comfortable, is everybody okay with
If he's comfortable with it, I'll be
Next
comfortable with
week?
it, because it's above money.
And if not, we'll just table it.
Yeah.
They can't get us something that we're all happy with.
Yeah, there are some questions they need to kind of, they need to agree with.
Absolutely.
They don't, maybe it's not.
Absolutely.
I agree.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Next item, rezoning, Article 23, Big County map, industrial to FAR.
Where is this?
That is the property just before you get to the road going into Tennessee River Implements. Bill Baker used to live there. Bill Baker, I call it Bill Baker property.
And that big
And that's
campus right there for you.
Somehow it got rezoned industrial, it was a growth area for the industrial park, but
But there's people living there.
we never knew about it till he got ready to sell it, and he can't sell it now because it's.
So that's the piece of property it is, it's the old Bill Baker.
Had a perfect camper shelter.
Yeah, exactly, it's still up, I think it's just grown up.
Used to be a wild house.
Yeah.
Old wild house.
Everybody familiar with the property?
Red bill, you just have to be red and white. Was that to be red and white?
It will have to be red twice, yes, this will be the first reading on it.
Hey, Rick, a question for you, since you brought that property up. There was some property on the backside of behind Shaw and behind Solomon. Did it finally get straightened out as far as going from industrial to FAR residential? Okay.
It did. Next item, resolution to amend Macon County zoning, update schedules and deeds. This will be the second reading, what we discussed last week. It's not increasing new amounts, this is paperwork backing up what we did months ago. Any questions on that? Next one is resolution to amend article, was it four? Of Macon County zoning resolution to eliminate security grants, first reading.
Surety bonds.
Surety
Bond
bonds.
process.
What is that?
Mayor?
So, yes, the surety bond was something that was written in our policy for someone who was going to set up a cell phone tower. And if I was gonna lease property off you, Keith, to put a Verizon tower, before we would give them a permit to erect that tower, they had to buy a surety bond, and the bond had to be enough so that if they abandoned the tower, and you was like, hey dude, they've left, we gotta get this down, I wanna put the cows out there. So, that would have been in our books to have, but we really didn't have a way to determine what it would cost to take a tower down 25 years from now. So we started asking other planning commissions and other cell phone companies that were putting these towers up, and they're like, we don't have to get them, we don't do those.
Also, when adding to what the mayor is speaking to, it was brought up by the cell tower guy, individual, that that's part of the contract between the cell tower company and the property owner. It's in that contract that is taken care of, so why is the county double it?
Yeah, kinda make
I
it
understand
a little
that.
harder. And we
Yeah.
didn't realize it till it kind of was brought to our attention, so what we think will fix it is just eliminating the county from requiring that surety bond and just letting the property owner deal with the cell phone company and it'll all work out.
I thought it was something totally different.